Hey, Charlie. Yeah, wake up. You're on. See, even Porter knows I'm on. Haven't done one of these proper intros, long form intros, I should say, in quite a while. So if you're new to the channel, thanks for coming. Hope to see you again, obviously. A little bit about my background. I've been a published reviewer, hi-fi reviewer for, 24 years now, almost 25 years. I've been in this hobby for a lot longer than that, but you can find me online at various magazines, both here in the US and in Europe, where I've written lots and lots of amazing articles about the lovely hobby that we're in, which is hi-fi. Today's agenda, something really cool. Company called B.audio. First, the intro. Pretty cool looking integrated amplifier. What is it? It's the B.audio Alpha One. Quick overview over the specs, speeds and feeds as we call it. It's a 120 watt per channel amplifier into 8 ohms. It's about 200 watts into 4 ohms. It's a single chassis, built-in toroidal power supply transformer. It's an all-in-one, wide open, wide bandwidth, integrated streamer, DAC, everything you could possibly think of, all in one, with a very cool all machined aluminum metal remote. Well, obviously it's metal if it's aluminum, right? What did I use for ancillary equipment to review this French masterpiece of the resistance? Well, very simple. My trusted and true EINSTEIN gear, starting with the EINSTEIN The Pure loudspeakers that are about 89 dB efficient. So they're not quite super efficient speakers, but they're also not low sensitivity and laggish and all that kind of stuff, right? So they're right in the middle of the ballpark, around 90 dB. That's the loudspeakers. The second component obviously was the B.audio 3 from RS Audio, which I just reviewed last weekend. Then we have the EINSTEIN The Last Record Player, CD player. And, whoa, I forgot, with the B.audio 3, there's also the EINSTEIN Little Phono. That's also a dual mono current sensing MC phono amplifier. And, of course, my trusted and true Revox PR99 Mark III tape machine that's been modified by the great Arian Janssen of Sonorous Audio, and you can see some of his videos and interviews that I've done over the last year in the link below. So what are some of the specs of the B.audio Alpha One? Well, for one, uses a resistor-based analog volume control, which is getting rarer and rarer these days, right? Number two, it's a dual mono Class AB amplifier setup. Talk about something getting rare, right? If you look around, especially the competitive landscape of these sort of all-in-one streamers, etc., that are in that price range or below it, you will probably exclusively find Class D amplification, right? So the fact that B.audio chose to create an amp, an integrated amp with good old Class AB technology and a toroidal transformer, something commendable and says a lot about the company ethos. Next up, we have, of course, the DAC section, which is part of the whole streamer DAC combo that this is built on. The DAC is a proprietary DAC design built by B.audio to their specifications. The two guys behind it are classically trained engineers, electronic engineers and designers with multi-decade histories in the great world of electronics design, not only for high-end audio, but also in automotive and aerospace applications. So I think they kind of know what they're doing, right? The DAC is PCM all the way up to 384 kilohertz. If that really means much to you, it really doesn't to me personally. I still think good old 1644.1 sounds pretty damn good, but be that as it may, that's just my personal opinion. The DSD side, because it's also DSD capable, goes up to 2x DSD, so 256, or is that 4x DSD? I forgot. I think it's 4x DSD. And finally, we also get into the streamer protocols that it covers. So it's a UPnP media server, which means it's compatible with all your UPnP devices. It also has built-in AirPlay, so you can directly connect from an iOS or macOS device, essentially from any Apple device, directly to the streamer and play back with it. It is also a Roon certified endpoint, so it'll show up as the B.audio Alpha One in your Roon system. And of course, through the mConnect app, which is obviously downloadable on Android and iOS devices, you can automatically, by default, have Tidal, Qobuz, etc. streaming. You have access to all the radio stations, etc., that are on there. I wish it was Tidal Connect and Spotify Connect. It isn't, but that's something that I'm sure a future software update will be able to get added to. At least I hope so. Last but not least, it also has 2 analog inputs where you can obviously connect any analog gear that you wish to. And in this case, I either have the Bayadere 3 connected through the EINSTEIN PhonoStage or the EINSTEIN The Last Record Player CD player, or ultimately my go-to analog source, the Sonorous Audio Modified Revox PR99 Mark III. It also features a dual balanced output. With permission from John and Rich at Monarch Distribution, who are the distributors for B.audio here in the US, I took a quick peek inside the deck and wanted to see what's cooking on the inside. So the first thing you notice is Steve Jobs getting a coronary heart attack of epic proportions because it's not neatly organized into functional compartments of the unit itself. Be that as it may, you can clearly see that obviously, they had to deal with some constraints with regards to size, etc. I personally would have liked it if they had cleaned this up a little bit better. Brinkmann Integrated comes to mind, where it comes with a glass top that you can look through and see how neatly organized the amplifier is. That said, function follows form, and so you can clearly see the lovely dual mono setup, the twin bipolar transistors on each side of the heatsink mounted to it, obviously. You can see the toroidal transformer on the bottom right. You can see another transformer. I'm guessing that's probably for the analog section. You then have a look at the amplifier section. There's a bunch of op amps that you can tell. If we look at the second image, we see that a bit of a clearer picture of those op amps and a bunch of other. I think there's the streamer module that's bolted there on top that is obviously sourced from a third party called Seed. And if we look at the final picture, we actually see the DAC modules from B.audio, which again are proprietary designs from the two guys. And that's the heart and soul of the digital section of the B.audio Alpha One. All right, so let's get into the sound quality then, shall we? As you guys know, at least those that follow me and have read my online reviews published in other magazines, etc., over the last 10, 15, 20 years, you will find that my biases, ooh, shocking, I have a bias. Of course I do, like everyone else does, right? What is my bias and what am I listening for when I hear equipment? It's pretty darn simple, actually. Music. Music is lifelike. Music is alive. Music has punch, weight, dynamics, microdynamics. It's aggressive. It's got tone. It's got substance. Obviously, you can go from a fortissimo to a pianissimo in the split of an eye, or the blink of an eye. I guess that's how it's called. Sorry, English is not my first language. But that said, that's what I'm after. That's what I'm looking for, right? If a component has those qualities, to varying degrees, obviously, they speak to me, right? And frankly, if a component does not have those qualities, well, guess what? I'm probably not going to be too keen or interested in listening to it and or reviewing it. In this case, the B.audio Alpha One delivers, and it delivers in spades. Let me be a little more specific. When it comes to bass, mid-range, and treble, I think if you were to look at in fact, I'm pretty sure if you were to look at the frequency plot, it's ruler flat. That said, there is this inherent energy that the B.audio Alpha One has that reminds me quite a bit of my reference EINSTEIN gear, which I've been using for almost 15 years now. In a sense that, again, it comes alive. It's punchy. In fact, first thing I remember texting to Rich and John after I connected the B.audio Alpha One was, dude, this reminds me a lot of my reference gear, right? It's got punch, it's got dynamic, it's got guts, right? Music flows through it. There are, you can clearly see that the designers spent a lot of time making sure that the signal is wide bandwidth, wide open, and that's exactly how I like it. Now, we're actually discussing sound quality and why it matters and what this thing sounds like. So the first thing I want to mention is, in my 30, 40 years of listening to hi-fi and high-end audio components, I've come to listen to a lot of bad audio. Trust me, there's a lot of bad audio out there.
You serious?
This is not bad audio. This is actually really, really good audio. There aren't that many components out there that are built to this level of sound quality, with this level of care, and with this level of attention to detail. As I mentioned earlier, Class AB, toroidal transformer, dual mono setup, bipolar transistors, you're not going to find that in many, if not hardly any, integrated amplifiers this day and age. So you guys know me, I love music, right? Rather than blipping up across the screen some random screenshot of an album, let me just go through a couple of things that I was listening to evaluation-wise on this component, the B.audio Alpha One, be that on my EINSTEIN CD player or the Tidal stream through the Connick app, or even AirPlay. So first up, Goldfrapp. Great album. Highly recommend you check this out. If you're looking for, I think, what this amp really does phenomenally well, track Stranger is, it slowly builds up. It's like an incredible pasta sauce that just takes time to develop and cook and simmer through, right? You hear nuance, you hear dynamics, but you also hear, Alison Goldfrapp's voice and vocals and tonality in a way that really puts her in the room. I hate to say that, but it really sounds that way, right? She's enveloping you. You can pinpoint her vocals. There's dynamics. There is reverberation. No doubt this is a digitally created album with Pro Tools or what have you. And just the fact that you can hear her voice come through in that tonality and quality really tells you that you're listening to a special piece of audio equipment. Next up, Foreplay. What a classic album, right? The First Cut Chant. By the way, this was reissued on vinyl. Of course, it's stashed away who knows where in my 10,000 records that are still in the garage, temperature controlled and humidity controlled garage. But the first track, Chant, man, that thing opens up with this whack on the drum kit, and holy cow, the explosiveness, the feeling that you get from hearing that at proper volume cranked up is considerable, right? Not many amps can do that. Not many preamps can do that. Not many all-in-ones can really convey that message. Reminds me very much of the EINSTEIN gear. Next up, 07, When It Falls. Killer album. Again, very densely recorded, very densely populated music. And if your amp is incapable of delivering that soundstage, delivering that or that detail, getting into the nitty gritty of it, you're not going to hear it. Harry Connick Jr., what else needs to be said? By the way, what the heck happened to Harry Connick Jr.? I really missed the guy. That said, killer album. This was, I think, right around the time when Harry Met Sally came out, which is kind of hard to believe. Gosh, I'm dating myself, getting old. Hence the glasses, as you can tell. Again, you listen for your vocals, or his vocals, obviously, not my vocals, and not your vocals. You listen for the vocals. Liberated comes to mind. The vocals are enveloping the room acoustics. The instrumentation is spot on. You can tell the tonality. There's dynamics in here that have not been castrated by dynamic compression, like so much of our today's music, unfortunately, is. Great album to evaluate and listen for. Next up, oh, dude, this is killer. This is Sex Kittens in HiFi, mastered by this great Steve Hoffman. This came out on DCC Compact Classics, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, maybe, mid-90s, I think. Some great cuts in here. Again, you're listening for that 1950s, 1960s rich stereo presentation. And it comes through really, really well. Leonard Cohen, another one. Here's Daniel Lanois. U2, The Joshua Tree. Very densely recorded, densely populated recording. And, you know, if you listen to this on lesser systems, if you listen to this on systems that kind of, you know, mush things together, you're really not going to get the presentation that this album deserves, right? Here with the B.audio Alpha One, you get the feeling that, you know, hey, they're in the studio, they're mixing, Daniel is producing, and you get that total sense of authenticity that the album deserves. Helen Merrill in Tokyo, absolutely phenomenal. This is a benchmark CD to get, regardless of whether you're evaluating hi-fi gear or not. Amazing open wide sound, incredible dynamics, incredible soundstage, incredible elasticity in the tonality, etc. Phenomenal. Supertramp. This is their last, pretty sure this is their last album. Some things never change, indeed. Like, for example, Supertramp's sound quality when it comes to recordings has always been up there, has always been fantastic. It's been reissued by Mobile Fidelity back in the day, way back in the day. And this is one album that apparently has not been reissued yet by anyone on vinyl or CD, SACD or DXD or 386 kilobytes, kilohertz or megahertz, or it hurts. I don't know why. So something to listen for. Again, great compositions, great album, great dynamic swings. In the spirit of Sex Kittens of HiFi, Beverly Kenny. Great classic singer of the 50s and 60s. This is her entire Decca catalog on 2 CDs. Man, I tell you, some of this stuff is mono, some of it is stereo. Phenomenal, right? The vocals, the range, the tonality, the expressiveness, the dynamics, the presence of her voice and the music in general. Can't fault it, right? And you really hear that tonality come through with the Alpha One. And then, of course, last but not least, Isaac Hayes. I love this compilation. It's 4 discs. It's basically his kind of like his repertoire, music that he's written for others, as well as obviously his own music. absolutely killer. You can still get this on eBay, I'm sure. It's not even that expensive, probably. That said, what does it sound like? Well, that's what it sounds like, right? Again, it reminds me very much of my Einstein reference gear. Does it have the last word in resolution? No. Does it have the last word in bass augmentation and punch and just shove? It does not, right? When I look at the competition for this amp, which, for example, would be the Einstein integrated hybrid circlotron amplifier that I've had for many, many years. It's around the same price range. Well, it used to be in the same price range. Now it's probably around $25,000 with all the stuff going up in price. It's a very dedicated amplifier to sound. No features whatsoever other than the fact that it has a passive line stage and volume control. It's the same circlotron design, hybrid circlotron design as in the power amp. Wattage is about the same, but with the Einstein amp, you feel a lot more presence. You feel a lot more oomph. You feel a lot more of that shove and gut punch, right? Not surprising. I mean, it's basically an amplifier that happens to have a passive line stage built in. When I look at other competitive factors around the B.audio, for example, the fact that obviously much of its operation is software driven. You know, Technics comes to mind, DVLA comes to mind, Name with the Unity Atom 1 comes to mind. They've designed really great apps, native apps on Android and iOS where you can control the entirety of the amplifier, of the integrated, the DAC module, etc. You can set parameters, so on and so forth. And B.audio does not have that. On point for B.audio is the fact that I discovered a slight software bug where, for example, I don't have my Roon set up just yet. Again, Studio A is still not finished. We're still in Studio B. And Roon's just not set up in my system yet. So I was using Audioirvana. And when I played back with Audioirvana, there was a couple of glitches. Every now and then you would lose connection to the server, etc. Thankfully, I have to give kudos to the team at B.audio. When I reported my findings to John and Rich at Monarch Distribution, they immediately turned back to B.audio. There was a software update issued within 2 weeks, I think. And unit was updated. I updated it myself, actually, which is pretty painless procedure. And we were up and running, and guess what? Software quirks were fixed. I will say that AirPlay works really, really well with this particular component. I had no issue whatsoever. There were never any dropouts or any other issues around AirPlay from my Wi-Fi, which is all eero based. I've got about 4 of these eero routers throughout my house, Wi-Fi 6. And so the only kink was that Audioirvana. I can't comment on the Roon integration piece because I don't have Roon set up. That said, I'm assuming that because it's Roon certified, I'm pretty sure that they go through rigorous testing, making sure that everything works and punches out, etc., etc. So I'm assuming that that will all play. I did not get to test the parametric EQ and room treatment feature, so to speak. It's a little complicated to get into and not very well described in the manual, other than there's a little blip that tells you that it has this feature set. So quick feedback for the B.audio team. Maybe that's something that you guys can get a little more depth into, where you can figure out what's going on, how to set it up, how to get it going, etc. The B.audio team really deserves commendation for creating an all analog amplification stage and preamplification stage, a proprietary DAC design by their own in-house development on the software and hardware side, and really creating a killer amplifier all-in-one integrated for $17,000, right? I don't think you're gonna find sound quality that will match this unit in many of the integrated amps and all-in-ones that you can find from brand like Technics, Denon, Sony, etc. Many, maybe even DeVLA, even though I frankly haven't heard DeVLA in quite a long time. That said, I think sound quality is really a primary focus of this unit. So kudos to them for developing it based on sound quality. Kudos to the Monarch team for sending me this amazing amplifier and integrate it out for review. Thanks for allowing me time to noodle with it, play with it, and get it through my greasy little hands. And actually, I'm really quite open to and quite curious as to what the rest of the B.audio lineup sounds like, given how fond I am of this integrated amp. I know they have a really cool monoblock that I would be curious to try out at some point. There's also a larger stereo amp that I would be keen on trying out. So anyway, who knows what the future will hold. That said, B.audio, you guys have done a really nice job with this. Congratulations, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again at some point in the very, very near future.